Okay, the video you've all been waiting for. Guys, I could not make this short, so I'm going to try to go through creating characters first. So when you open up Daz3d, you are given, I'm not going to do, this is not about Daz3d, but you have characters in Daz3d. Genesis 8 female comes with all of the programs when you launch it. The other characters that you see on my screen are characters that are purchased. Characters and clothing and environments all can be purchased in the Daz store. So I'm starting with the Genesis 8. I'm putting her on the shaded texture so that, you know, for modesty reasons. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into I'm going to select my character and I'm going to choose a hair that is fit for the character. And let's choose the bob. So as you can see, the bob will load onto the character. These are called assets. So these assets basically in Daz3d come with their own parameters. So as you can see, this asset for hair has different color hair called materials for hair. It also has shaping, and it also has utilities and animations. So you can purchase these packs, these hair packs. They come with different blending tools to blend the hair, to color the hair and offer a little bit of a dynamic look to the hair. Like I said, this is not really about Daz3d, but I will show you how these assets come, because each thing comes with its own selection of materials and shaping, etc. So I'll show you the shoes next, but you can see I can change her hair color to just a multitude of colors. Some of the colors come with the hair and some of the colors are an extension, just to offer you more options. So this is a Genesis 8 female. As you can see, her face is just the basic face that comes with the program, but there are things you can do. So when you turn on your NVIDIA iRay, you can see how the hair is actually going to look. So in the window to your right, there's a drop down menu, and you'll see me go there several times during the video, but that is where you select just what type of view you're able to see. So I can show you the textured view, I can show you the different surfaces, but right now I'm in the NVIDIA iRay, so you can see the hair colors and you can see the textures of the hair. So this is how it looks. Otherwise it won't look like that. So once I turn off the blending of the hair, I can just go ahead and pick a color, and that will be her hair color. So yeah, so now let's go and see what other types of options you have for the hair. I can make her bangs long or short. I can make her hair short in the back. This is just some of the steps that it will, you can go through with creating your characters. There are many options. When you go into the Daz store, you will get lost. You will spend money you probably don't need to, but it's kind of fun. But, just make sure it's, within your budget, because you can get carried away at times. In the beginning, I got carried away. Now I budget myself. But anyway, so let's go through some other things like her eye color. With the different characters, you get different eye colors, and you can change her eye color. You can add makeup, so you'll see me going through doing that right now. I can give her brown eyes. I can give her a different color brown eyes. But yeah, blue eyes, so I just judge to what the mood of the character or the mood of what I'm creating is, and try to give her a unique look. Some of these specialty items that I've brought include makeup, eyebrows, lipsticks, lips. A lot of it comes with the characters, but some of them are also available for purchase separately. So right now I'm just giving her a few little things. As you can see, as soon as you click on the eye makeup, it shows up in her in the view window. And like I said, this is really not about Daz3d. This is about Daz2 CLO. But it all starts with creating your unique character. So these are some of the options that you have that you will be able to see once you bring it in to CLO. So for some reason I got an error message, but it comes up anyway. I don't know how that works. So yep, so I got a little double type of eyeshadow there, and I'm gonna give her a nice brown eye. I'm gonna choose one of these browns, maybe a hazel eye, and then we're gonna go ahead and create the rest of the create the rest of the look, I want to say. Yeah, look at those eyes, really great. So that's the beauty of Daz. Like, it's a realistic when you are viewing it through the NVIDIA iRay, which is a render engine that is in Daz, that comes with Daz3d. And this is the look that people like about Daz3d. It's realistic. It just shows the depth in the characters, the skin color, the lighting, the hair textures. Everything has a very, very realistic look. So this is what people want. So this is another view that you have in Daz3d. So you can see not what you have, not what the final product is going to be, but you can kind of see the changes that you have here. So right now I'm just adjusting her face morph. They call that morphing. And I'm giving her some different looks with the sliders. So those called sliders on the side there. And each character has their own slider that you can apply to the Genesis 8 female. So yeah, so what happens when you're in Daz, you can spend a lot of time in there because you just really want to make something unique. Like I'm giving her, you know, a little color, but I don't want to make her too dark. So I'm just creating different options for her skin, eyes, hair, makeup, and then we're going to do some wardrobe. Before you exit out of Daz, you like to have a complete character, meaning she'll have shoes, she'll have hair, makeup, accessories, but what you will not have is clothes. And that is what you will create in CLO3D. So think of CLO3D as just more of a strictly for the clothes thing when you're doing Daz3D to CLO. So your avatar will be totally naked except for her shoes, hair, makeup, and whatever styling that you wish to work with in CLO3D. So right now, I think I'm done. I try not to make my characters look all the same, but for some reason they kind of do. I always have full lips and bigger eyes, and just, even when I'm just creating one from scratch, I kind of look back and I was like, wait a minute, I made this one already. But I like her. Her name's Gina. We're going to give her some lipstick, and then we're going to give her some shoes, and we're going to move on. So like I said, you can stay in Daz for a while, just creating a character with all the different options. And like I said, as you build the library, from the store, or, from just creating your own assets, which is another story in itself. There's a flexibility where you can create your own stuff. So now she's naked, but she needs some shoes. So we're going to go ahead and make her a little taller first, because I like the tall fashion model types. This slider will allow her to get taller or shorter, or taller or shorter. So I go ahead and make her taller, and then I'll give her some heels, and then we will go ahead and make our avatar Gina. Hey, Gina. So I'll select my avatar, and then I will go to the wardrobe section. So the wardrobe section has all your accessories that are like shoes, shirts, dresses, whatever you have. So right now I'm going to pick some shoes. My favorite shoes right now are these Karen heels because you can morph the heel, which is what I like. You can morph the sole and you can morph the heel. So the shoes can actually look different every time you use them with a character. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And when I say look different, they'll still have the same details, but they can have a different heel. They can be a platform. They could be a kitten heel. They could be, you know, a stiletto heel, a really pointy stiletto heel. So I like the fact that you can, you know, change them in that way. So now she's got the Karen heels on. I'm going to morph the heel. I'm going to morph the platform. And then I think I will be done with that. So I like to make them tall because I like to visualize the clothing on, you know, your typical fashion model. That's the look I like. You can make these models any size or shape that you want. I will do a measuring video after this, maybe next week. But right now, this is all about creating the character. But there is a script, is what they call it, inside of Daz3d where you can apply measurements to your morphs. So you can morph your character to fit a certain measurement. And this is good for draping your garment. Okay, so I got the shoes, a little bit of platform, a little bit of a shaped heel. And now we're going to go ahead and into phase 2. When you're exporting your character for CLO, their suggestion is to export in FBX format. So we're going to go ahead and click export. We have the character in the A pose. I'm going to save her to a brand new folder. And I'm going to name her Gina. And she's going to be in the FBX format. Here is the trick. FBX 2010 binary. Follow these parameters and you'll be just fine. But make sure it's in 2010. That's the one that works best with CLO. That's their suggestion. And there's a reason why. So she's exported. But right now, I also want to pose her. I don't want to just give her an A pose and that'll be the end of it. No. So in Daz3d, there are pose formats. I changed my mind here, I believe. Oh, I'm saving her as an OBJ. No, I do change my mind. So we're just going to do FBX. Right now, let's focus on FBX. Okay, I'm doing something here. Saving as OBJ, but when you get to the end of the video, you'll understand why. Okay. So for the second phase, I need a pose. So I'm going to highlight my character and I'm going to go to poses in Daz3d. Poses are also things that you can purchase, but you can also, in the most recent release of Daz3d, you're able to use a thing called Power Pose to pose your character the way that you want. There are all different options to pose her body parts, but some come packaged. I brought a little bit of a fashion magazine package thing, and there's supposedly what fashion models will be wearing. So I'm going to go ahead and save her pose. This is me saving it as OBJ for later in the video. But for FBX, which is the first thing that we'll be doing, we need to go ahead and save the pose as FBX. As you can see from the drop down, the file type name is FBX, and I'm going to save this pose. She will do this. This is okay. This is the way the computer translates the data. So don't worry about that. All right, so we're done. We've got the pose. we're going to be ready for the next step in just one quick second. So if your model happens to float above the line, you can hit Control D. All right, so we're going to find Gina, and that will bring her down to the ground. As you saw the note. Import FBX. Control D brings her down to the ground. When you import FBX, it comes packaged with all of its, there will be an image folder created, and it comes packaged with all of her hair, eyes, accessories, everything that is on the avatar. The FBX file packages everything together. She'll come fully dressed. Hair will look nice, look like the hair that you made in Daz3d. You don't have to change anything about the hair. One suggestion is make it a silk texture. But for the eyes don't come in right away. You have to go to the eyes, click on the eye, and the iris and the sclera, and reduce the opacity. For this white line that is underneath, this is eye moisture line. So the suggestion is to make this glass texture and then just give it a little bit of a reduction in opacity. Not all the way so that it's invisible, but it will look like her eyes are moist. I'm going to show you later on how to make her eyes look a little bit glassy, like, well, there, I just gave it away. If you change the eyes, you'll see me later change the eyes to the glass texture. It will give off reflectivity and it will look like eye moisture. So here, all of your hair and everything, you have different files for each parts of her body, just like the regular avatars. So you have, you know, lips are separate. You have hair and head and neck. Hair is separate files. So everything you'll see gets exported into a folder that says images. So right now, FBX 2010 binary is the one that will package all of these details, and they will come out looking just like this. This avatar also, I don't show you, but this avatar also comes rigged. I'll show you a picture of a rigged avatar. And hold on, let me show you this picture. Hold on. Okay, so this is what a rigged character looks like. You have her IK window at the top. This is just means that she has bones and she's posable. All right, so back to your avatar. You can see that with Daz3d you get some skin effects. You get a little bit more of a natural look. Don't worry about this scalp thing. There's a little bit of a fix to that. I'll show you in just a second. I'll show you right now, actually. When you go back into Daz3d and you highlight the hair in the drop down menu. So highlight the character's hair, and in your edit object geometry, there is something called add smoothing modifier, and that will take care of the hair. But actually when it renders, you can't see anything. It's just looking like that because it's not rendered. So I go ahead and add the smoothing modifier, and then I check to make sure that in the render the hair scalp is not showing through, and that's just what I'm doing here. So I do often double check. I keep both files open, and I often double check what the character is doing in either or program before I'm transferring it. So now I just have to do all of the edits to the eyes all over again. And like I said, the eye moisture, I think it's cool that they put that in Daz3d to give you a more realistic look. So I'm gonna go ahead and give her some sheen to these lips. And now that I'm seeing the sheen, I'm dialing it down, and I'm gonna give her a little bit of a color, and that's that. So you're styling your avatar. Now it's time to give her some clues. I'm gonna speed through this so you guys know that I'm actually making the garment at the same time. What I suggest is that you already have one made, because lots can go wrong during this process. But I didn't have one ready for this 3D thing, so I'm going to go ahead and just make a little shirt. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to make a little outfit, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I did speed that up as best I can. Call this the dragon shirt. I'm going to add some top stitching real quick, and then we're going to get into the next phase of this making this avatar in CLO3D. So Daz and Clo, are what a lot of people are starting to use now, just to offer a little bit more realism to the characters. There are a lot of 3D programs that are actually using, Optitex is actually going to start using avatars from CLO, and Browseware has already started. I think their new avatar is actually a custom avatar from CLO. So no doubt CLO will actually probably catch on to make it a little bit easier for you to get a realistic look with the avatar, you know, hands, eyes, ankles, realistic. So let's get into it right now. I'm going to open up another window of CLO, which that's one of the things I like about this program, is that you can open up two windows. Some programs you cannot. Daz you cannot. So I have to be running one Daz at a time. I can't run two. I'm going to pull in the posed character, and I'm going to save this pose as an avatar. I'm going to save this pose as a pose file. So this FBX that I'm going to open up, I'm going to save the FBX as a pose file. I can do that because it's rigged, remember? So I'm going to go ahead and save her as a pose file. But as we know, I can't have a pose file and not have an avatar file. So I'm going to go back to my avatar. This is my FBX, and I'm going to save that as an avatar. In the documentation on CLO3D, they leave that part out. You have to change the FBX to an avatar in order for it to work in CLO. There will be a few glitches, and I'll show you one of them that is common that I do see with people on their renders, like on Instagram and stuff like that. I see people have this problem, so I'm going to show you how to fix it, but it's not easy. So I delete my avatar that is just the FBX, and I go in and I pull in the avatar that I just made. She's going to fit perfectly. Shoes and everything, it's going to be attached to the avatar. Remember, everything is attached to her. So you're saving her with the shoes and makeup and all that together. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the pose. Now remember, I saved that pose with high heel. So what am I going to get? Cute, right? Until her foot pose is double high heel. That's what happens. So she has the high heel doesn't transfer properly. The high heel gives her like she's wearing double the high heel, so her foot pose goes up even further. So what you can do, quick fix, is go ahead and delete that avatar and put in your FBX. You cannot morph FBX files. So it cannot come in like a pose. You have to come in like a straight file. So I'm going to go into my outfit. Now that she's posed the same way, it's easier for me to just swap them out. So one kind of serves the purpose of transitioning into the pose, but if you want that foot pose to be corrected, you have to either pose her with the no high heel, but then something else is going to happen because then she'll have no high heel. So my quick option, because who has time to figure out all these different file formats and forms, is just change her back from that to the FBX avatar. Save the FBX file as an avatar. You saw me do that. And then bring her in as an avatar in that pose. But guess what you have to do all over again? Correct her eyes, her eye moisture, her sclera, all of that. Is it worth it? Yes. When you see the render, okay, gotta get some work in, right guys? So just try to remember to save both as a pose, both as an avatar. That way, if something happens with your foot pose, you always have the avatar in the pose format to fall back on and go ahead and start your render. Forgive me as I have this double window open. I did not know that I was doing this. I was trying to work so fast and I didn't realize that both windows were showing, or I did and I just didn't pay attention. So I'm focused on getting her pose correct, fixing some of her what is this render gonna look like. It's my stripe that one of my favorite stripes that I created. Got the little dragon emblem on the side, so I'm gonna give her a little bit of a satin sheen, and I'm gonna go ahead and let it render. So now you guys have watched my video on rendering. I'm creating my custom views. I end up creating way too many custom views, but once it's rendered, like I can use it for different things. Like some I'll use for portfolio, or some I'll use, you know, on the CLO community, collab or CLOLab. And then others I'll use for my Instagram. So that's pretty much how I do it. My little outfit. Yes, I made that stripe. I made the dragon. And you saw me drape this outfit. So these are original things, guys. But I mean, feel free. You can spend some time with it. Once you get used to doing this stuff, you'll be good at it and fast. I'm gonna add a shadow now. So these are some of the things that I go through on the other video, which I will put up in the right hand corner, so you guys can go watch the rendering video and get to know some of these things. So right now, one of the things that I didn't go over in the video was the noise. I went over it really briefly. The noise threshold and the render time. My rendering time I put up to 45 seconds. It gives it a little bit longer time to collect data from the photo, other than going through like the next cycle. With the threshold, it just makes it very clear. It gives the noise level a little bit of a reduction so it can be clear. It's not zero noise, but 0.01 is very close to zero. So that's where I put it on. And I'll tell you why, because it just offers a clarity. If you're not using depth of field, if you're not using any of that stuff, it's better for creating clear photos. Right now, I don't know if you can notice, but her skin color is not the same as the avatar in Daz. The avatar in Daz, I made her a little bit brown. So these are one of the things that you know, CLO has its benefits and Daz has its benefits. So if you can create something to work together with the two of them, then you're good. I can't say that I choose one over the other because I can't get this type of clarity, texture, or lighting in Daz. The lighting I might be able to get with, but the cloth and the material texture in Daz, it's triple work. CLO makes it very easy. It makes it very easy to set up your render, to see the fabrication, you know, of course the drape and the expression that you want on your garment is all done in Daz. But when you are looking at skin, hair, other surface textures other than the actual material texture, Daz is the one that people like. The form, the way the body is shaped, their whole dynamic behind anatomy is the desired thing that people want. But I prefer rendering in CLO. It's faster. I don't have to worry about the material. I don't have to worry about my imaging. And when you transfer you'll see me transfer in part 2, you'll see me transfer the clothing back into Daz, and that does not have the same dynamics, and you would have to actually rebuild the clothing. If it's not flat, like this stripe and this top stitching and all of this, when you get it into Daz, it disappears. So I choose CLO for the render, and just have to compensate a little bit for the skin color, have to compensate a little bit for the skin textures. But once you can do that, if you don't have a lot going on your garment, meaning if you have like one print and everything else is solid, then you can do that. But right now I have this dragon on the shirt, and I have the stripe, and I have the satin look, and the drape of the fabric and all of that comes in, but those other assets don't. So for my clothing assets, which is really what it's all about as a fashion designer, then I'm gonna pick CLO. Okay, so she's really, really bright, starting to get on my nerve. Even though I know this is something that I need to go ahead and fix, at this point, I'm just focused on getting the tutorial done. So that's it, guys. And there's more to come. Part 2. Okay, so this is part 2. If you survived part 1, there was a lot of information in there. And excuse me, guys, I'm like, my allergy is really, really bad. But this video is talking about CLO3D to Daz3d, getting the assets, the clothing back into Daz. Since you already have the character, you're not importing the character, you're importing the clothes into Daz. So we're gonna see just about that. We're gonna see about that. So I closed my actually I had a crash, guys, just so you know. I have the video thing going on, I have CLO going on, I have Daz3d going on, I had the music going on, I had a lot of things going on, and my machine said, oh no, you have to close some of these things. So I had to close down. So I just opened back up. I'm going to export this skirt as a OBJ, but you're going to see what happens, and I attribute it to the FBX model. But I'm going to go ahead, export as OBJ the skirt, and export as OBJ the shirt. Follow these, freeze frame right here. This is the export that I'm doing. So you can freeze that. I try thick surface because when I pull it in, I did this a couple times before recording this part. When I pull it in, there's grin through. So long story short, I couldn't find the pose. I was supposed to cut this part out. I think I do cut it at some point. I couldn't remember which pose I had. I had to go back and check CLO3D to see which pose it was. I digress. But this is real life, guys. I have so many poses. I wasn't sure which one came from where. Then I remembered. So we're going to get her back into her pose. And then we're going to go ahead and bring in the skirt as an OBJ. So we're going to import OBJ, the skirt. It wasn't working. So this is the second option. See that grin through? It's not supposed to do that. And if it's fitting the avatar correctly, then it won't do that. But this is a FBX avatar. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export the avatar as the OBJ. You remember in the beginning, in the first video, I exported an OBJ because I know that's what's going to work. Right now, FBX is what Daz tells you works the best, and it brings in all of the textures, and that's the reason why. But the OBJ kind of acts a little bit better. I want to say the mesh of the avatar is better, and it doesn't collide with the garment. I'm going to try exporting the skirt again, and then I'm going to see that it's going to be even more. I'm like, wait, it's OBJ. Wait a minute. So something must be wrong because OBJ always works. And I just redid it. So I redraped it and then I imported it again. I simulated it again and it should be working. Why? Because of the FBX avatar's, her skin mesh is colliding with the garment. You can't see it in CLO, but when you bring something into another program, then you start to see it. So now I'm just double checking myself like, wait a minute. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to see like it's not gritting through. So why is that a thing happening? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export the avatar as an OBJ again, one more time for you guys to see it, because I realized that the only element that is different from what I normally do is the FBX. I'm showing you the FBX, guys, because a lot of you have trouble with the textures. But now with the OBJ, the textures don't come in the same way. You have to create them. Or not create them. They export, but you have to import them back. It's a little bit more difficult, but the outcome to me is a lot more sound when you're transferring garments from one program to another. I hope this is not boring, you guys. I mean, I know I've been promising this video for a long time, but guys, it's a lot. And it's steps that you do all the time, and you kind of like, you know, the workarounds, but in order to communicate it to you guys, I wanted to make sure that I had all of the right information to give you. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export this as OBJ one more time because I believe it's going to work. I believe it's going to work. I truly do. Until I say to myself, why? Then the light bulb goes off. The only thing different about the steps that I'm doing is that I'm using FBX first. So now, what do? Get rid of it. We delete that. Making me crazy. Delete. I'm going to go reset my pose first. I'm going to export this pose as OBJ because this is the pose, right? Right. Done. She doesn't do the Michael Jackson Thriller move. It's just done. So now I'm going to go ahead and reset the A pose after I do this wave front OBJ. These are the settings. Pay attention. I clicked on Bryce. Convert maps for Bryce. Make sure that that is highlighted. Convert maps for Bryce. I will circle it so you guys can see for sure. But that is the key because that creates that folder, that the FBX folder with all the images of your textures and hair, skin, nails, everything. So now Daz also has a way for you to get back to your classic pose, your A pose. You have to have that as a standard pose. Once you pose your character, it's hard to go back without resetting all of her limbs. Now she's in the A pose. All right, A-okay. But look at her feet. So the shoes actually have their own pose. I'm going to go ahead and pose her feet back. And then I'm going to Control D again to bring her back on the ground. Because once she poses, her feet go back down the ground. So Control D will bring her back to surface level and not under the surface. And then I could go ahead and export her as a wavefront OBJ for the A pose. Convert for Bryce right here. Make sure that will create your folder with all your textures. What is Bryce? Prehistoric 3D program that I know nothing about. I just heard of it through the grapevine. Don't know who uses it, but it saves the images in a folder for you to use and convert. Not really convert, but bring them in CLO3D, which is what I'm going to do next. So I think I exported the wrong pose. I don't remember. Then I just go back down the rabbit hole. Plan on going down the rabbit hole a few times with CLO3D. That's not it. But I export that one anyway. But you see, it doesn't matter because you are starting from scratch with the A pose or with any other pose that you want. You can go ahead, and I've done it several times, is make a A pose and then save out several different poses. And when you bring them into OBJ, you will see that you can just go ahead and morph target the OBJ, and then you'll have as many poses as you want. You don't have to put them in the avatar pose file. You don't have to create a new avatar unless you want to. So I need to reset this garment, and I need to bring in my new OBJ. Let me tell you, I filmed this a couple of times because I couldn't remember which one of these files was the A pose. So I did spare you a bit of confusion. Miraculously, that's not it. I think I clipped it here. Like, oh, look at me, I'm smart. Nope, not so smart. I couldn't remember what it was. So sometimes I show you guys my mistakes. Just label your stuff properly. I didn't have it labeled properly. So my A pose was labeled something else. So to keep with the true comparison, I'm creating the same pose again, adding the regular A pose, and then the other pose in OBJ format. Still doing it. Still showing you guys that I don't know which one it is. Okay. Restyle your avatar, redress her. I could have swore I cut this part out. Anyway, I'll leave it in. Comic relief. So you guys know how to do this. Resetting all of your 3D assets around the garment, around the bounding points, and going ahead and simulating that again. Don't know what I did with the collar. Oh, the collar's still in there. Get the collar. And yes, my skirt's almost all the way down to the ground. I changed back the particle distance from 7 to 20. So here's the part where I want you to pay attention. Now I just imported my OBJ. You will see that the OBJ does not have bones. Now, I didn't know that there was a little bit of a trick to this. I would always import the OBJ and transform it through the morphing target, but I always thought that it was okay to do it at 30 FPS. Guess what? I would always have to redrape. I would always have to resimulate and pull on the garment and do all that. So now let me just show you here. I pulled her eyes in from a folder called Converted Maps. I'm going to do the same for her hair after I fix this collar, so you can go ahead and see that again. But all of her hair strands, you need to recolor them, and you need to bring them in as white. And you'll see that just after I fix this collar. I don't know if I'm going to put music on this video. You guys always scream at me when I put music on the video. So I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. I might have some elevator music. Put some trap music on. Okay. Collar's fixed. So for each of her assets, except for her skin, hair, eyes, this is how you do that. So she has a thing called a skull cap on the underneath. You go into her texture folder and you go to your converted maps folder. Not there. Converted maps, and it's white. That's okay. But you do need to make sure that you color it, which each map that you bring in, you need to recolor it because they're white. So what's going to happen? I'll show you. Her hair will just be white, but you don't want that. You want to make sure that it's colored. You might not get the same exact color, but you will get the highlights. You see how she has white strands there? So I need to bring in the strand map, but now I see it's white. So I'm like, oh, you forgot to recolor it brown. So I'm going to go back to the first one, highlight it. I'm going to go back and recolor it brown. So make sure you are coloring each one as you bring it in. With the same color, you still get the highlights. But if you don't color it, then it will turn grayish, whitish gray. Your highlights will be gray and white instead of brown and blonde, etc. So usually there's only one hair strand map for each of the hair parts. So hair comes in, I want to say, sections and parts, and you have to go and click each one. It's a little tedious, but worth it. When you see the final render, everything looks good, and you don't have to deal with the FBX skin, or you can do it the other way. Maybe it's okay with you because you're just using CLO and you're not trying to put it back into Daz and use into Daz. But when you're trying to go back to Daz, that's where it gets a little bit, you know, unusual with the skin of the FBX avatar. So I'm just taking you through this. And yes, I do this often. Why? Because I like the effect a lot better. Why? Because even though it's more steps, somehow it was better for me. The FBX was good, but it just, you know, I think the particles on the skin were just too wide. The FBX seems a little bit more smooth. You can check that for yourself. You can turn on the particle distance and check for yourself. You see in the 3D window where there's like a little on the 3D window menu, you can see the mesh of the avatar. See where that avatar is like a little light head right there. You can see that, and that's where you'll be able to see the mesh on the avatar and check for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and make this glass, and I'm going to reduce the transparency just like we did with the other one. So the eyes are still the same process. It's just now the hair comes in a little bit different, so you have to kind of treat that differently. And you have to actually make sure you export the hair map. Maybe there's an easier way. I just haven't found it yet. But for you guys, there's two ways. I'm showing you two different ways to get these avatars into CLO. But now going back to CLO, this is my preferred, going back to Daz3d, this is my preferred method. All right. I've already rendered this out, but just to double check what the render looks like, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save the skirt. I'm going to save the shirt after it's redraped when she gets into the pose. She's not in the pose yet. I just created all of her assets for her skin and hair and eyes. And now we're going to go ahead and import her pose file, and I'll show you that. This is the big secret. Okay. It's coming right up. Drum roll, please. So when you import the figure, you have one OBJ already. So now you're going to go ahead and import the pose file that you saved as OBJ as well. And you're going to go ahead and enter that in. Yeah, I just wanted to fix her skirt because why was it all the way down? I think the other one was like that too. So I digress. Give me 1 second while I just fix this render. Okay, it is a little bit small, and I do have a little bit of a excess on the bottom left hand side, but you know what, for this video I'm going to go ahead and just pull on it a little bit and get back to what I was doing and stop going down different rabbit holes. Guys, I cut out so much you would have no idea how many rabbit holes you can go down with this process. So just try to have your ideas fleshed out already so you're not making up stuff as you go. That takes a lot of time because as creative people, we tend to go on tangents. I know I do. I don't know about you. Okay. The purpose of this was to pose. At some point, I'll be getting back there. No bones. That's what I wanted to show you guys right there. She has no bones, okay? So we're going to go ahead and import the OBJ pose file. And I do believe that I slowed this down for you to see. I think that's what it is right now. This is slowed down for you to watch. Import, add, OBJ. Grab your pose file. Your pose file. Yes? Yes. Click on it and load it as morph target. Okay, morph target, guys. Change the frame rate from 30 to 120. 120. So instead of 30 frames per second, which makes it render really fast, if you change it to 120, she will move slower, which is better for her because she doesn't have any bones to hold her body in place. I learned this from Cameron when he was doing his part in a 3D seminar this past week. I believe it was PI, but it could have been not PI because there were so many seminars that just happened this week. There was the Alvanon, there was PI apparel, really good seminars. So I hope you guys registered and listened to some things. But that's it. So now she's going to move real slow into her pose and her clothes are not going to get caught up. So if you don't change this, what happens is the body parts move too fast, faster than the clothes can render. And she moves herself out of the clothes. If you want to frustrate yourself just to find out why, you can do it that way. And render it at 30 frames per second, the morph target. And let me tell you, you will understand my pain and why I'm so grateful that I listened to Cameron for that one little sentence that he said. Changed my life. I say Cameron like we're on the first person, but I will put his name up because I can't remember his last name right now. But he's the artist that does Shadoo, which kind of made me get into all of this Daz3d stuff. And I love it. So thank you, Cameron. She's almost posed. Worth the wait. Believe me, guys. Worth the wait. Because it's easy to get these things. I think the OBJ and OBJ relationship, they are at the same level of mesh. Then they could work with each other. For some reason, the FBX and the OBJ was not working. So now I'm going to export this. I'm sorry, this is going a little slower than I anticipated. I figure I slowed it down a little bit. Slowed it down too much, even for myself. I'm narrating, so I'm kind of waiting for myself to make a move because I don't remember what's next. You should be checking my render. All of my because now if this was an actual work in progress, I will be checking to make sure that I got the same views before I started rendering. So I will go back to my custom views, my render window, and just double check. And make sure that everything is still in the same place. But with these custom views, you can overwrite them. So I'm going to overwrite one so you can just see me right click on it and overwrite it. Yep, looks the same. Let's double check. Hey, how about that dragon? Worked hard on that dragon. I love it. Yes, so seems like all of my views are what I wanted them to be. And now with that light, again, her skin is just glaring at me, annoying me just a bit. Not that I have a problem with white skin. It's that that's not what I intended her to look like, so I need to go back and fix that or find a workaround. I can find a workaround by changing the color of her skin, kind of like putting a layer of color underneath her skin or over her skin that becomes a tone. Just gonna give her eyes a little bit of to darken them a little bit, but I didn't change the opacity, or if I did, it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So I digress. But I do end up nicely changing, you'll see it on my Instagram, I do end up changing her her eyes, her sclera and pupil to glass, and then taking down the reflection on the glass just to make them look moist but not like glassy. So that is one little trick that you can do. You'll see that on my Instagram. I did at one point change her lips to leather. I think this is the point. Give her a little bit of color. I think I also changed it to glass, but I didn't really like the final effect of the glass. But plastic wasn't doing it, glass wasn't doing it. Leather kind of did it because I was able to make it look like just wet lipstick. You know, that's what I wanted it to look like. More, you know, lip gloss, not gloss, but like moist lipstick type of look. Yeah, so this is plastic. I can't really do that because the opacity will just make it look crazy. But anyway, too much, too much, too little, until I just get rid of, go on to the next thing. So now here's where I start talking about render times. Your noise threshold and your max render time. Follow these settings here. I have the light quality as high, so that gives me more light on the picture, which actually makes the rendering take a little long, but it'll look a lot clearer, which is the goal. Sometimes you have to, you know, if you have other things to do, you got to sometimes save your project and then continue later on. I had a little time to do this tutorial for you guys today. So today is the day. Nice and clear. Look at that. Beautiful. So I start rendering this, and I will be right back. Okay, so I wasn't going to let you sit through those whole renders. So this is where I start getting the idea about leather lips and changing the lip color, etc., etc. And that's it. So now what about getting the clothes? We never got the clothes back into Daz. Highlight one clothing item at a time. This is a trick that I found. You can do them all as an outfit, but I like to do one at a time just in case something goes wrong with one, it doesn't go wrong with the whole thing. So skirt separate, shirt separate. These are the settings. Freeze frame. Save them as a absolute texture file. Don't save all the pieces, or save all the pieces depending on if you're doing a whole outfit or not. Same thing I'm going to do with the shirt. Save it as wavefront OBJ. Graphics and trims, that's because I have the drag in there and the zipper and the binding. So graphics and trim were highlighted. Excuse me, YouTube, while I dress my model. Woo! Little skin there. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the shirt and the skirt. I have this set to 100% because I'm already working in Daz format in CLO3D. So this is the same size as the model that's in CLO3D. When you export it as OBJ, it should be the same file. So when you import it, you can leave the parameter at 100%. Here's the trouble that I have. Because this is not a plain shirt, the skirt, it's fine. But because the shirt is a stripe and it has the graphic, it does not put them at a high resolution. Unless you're going to import that stripe separately for each piece of your garment. Yes, for each piece of your garment. Or import the graphic base map, normal map, and what's the other one called? Something with a D that I can't remember right now. Diffuse map. Okay, so you have to enter them all in separately or you'll get this blurry look. So to be fair, I'm going to go ahead and make this shirt solid because right now that's not my lovely stripe. It looks very blurry. So that's why I picked CLO. I like to render in CLO because I don't have to worry about the material surface looking anything other than what I want. I digress. No good. You will not see this on my Instagram. But when it comes to skin, eye, hair textures, Daz3d cannot be beat. So I give her a little bit of a darker skin tone just to try to match up with what's going there. It's not matching. But I like it better. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it in this format. I'm going to change the color of the, so I'm just giving her a little bit of an overlay. As you can see, for each body part, I have to give like a different, not the same, but I have to give it a different color on top so that she cannot look so bleached in the light. But it's still not the color I want. We'll have to play with it for a little while longer to know, to get it to visually look like the color that I want. But this is not it, but I like it anyway, so I think I'm gonna go with this one. So now we're looking at render times. I just wanted to tell you guys that when you're rendering the face, it takes longer than rendering the whole look, especially when you're using Daz3d textures, because the textures are picking up a lot of light. And that takes longer to render, especially since you have your max render time at 45. It's going to take longer, but it's going to look better, but it will take longer. And I'll be right back. All right, finding more ways to shorten these videos. That's that on the render front. The Daz3d render took maybe about 40 minutes, and the CLO took about 15-20 minutes. So now I changed the shirt color just so you can see the difference between the solid colors. See the difference? I haven't changed the color, but it imported the color of the salmon color to be more like a tomato color. So there's differences in the color engines. There's differences in the lighting engines and the rendering engines. Will it be something that you can live with and can adjust once you learn how to adjust it to what you want? Yes, but CLO is giving me the accuracy that I want. I don't think Daz is so into clothing that it is paying attention to these different nuances, because right now I have top stitching on basically almost every seam on the front, on the hem, on the collar, on the neckline, on the zipper. But in CLO, I can see that clearly. My texture comes in for my top stitching, but for Daz3d, it does not come in. Why? It's coming in, but it's hidden in the levels that you are not ready for right now. So you have to go in and actually import every texture, import every color, import every map back into Daz. To me, the value is using Daz body shapes and forms and poses in CLO3D, adapting it the way you want. If you have a portrait that you want to make, just be ready to spend some time on the clothing aspect of the portrait in Daz3d, because you will have to rebuild it basically. Because it will not export, it will not tile the same, it will not export the same, it will not be textured the same. You'll have to texture it, you'll have to tile it, and you'll have to bring in the base color and the base stripe or print or whatever it is. All your diffuse maps and bump maps do not respond the same in Daz3d. I tried to get the lighting, I tried to get the shadow, everything the same. But as you can see, where's my top stitch? Now it's there, but it's embedded in the garment. And I would have to create a bump map. I would have to find the file that is for the thread, create a bump map. You can see at the edge, there's the little ripples at the edge that tell me that there is stitch there. Am I going to go down the rabbit hole? See, this is the beginning of the rabbit hole. All the different listings. Each one of these things is, I'm changing it to the salmon color, but it's still looking very red. And I don't have any sheen on the garment. I didn't apply the satin texture to it. If I was doing something more of a project based that I wanted to have the Daz look, I would spend more time to find each item, replace the bump map, replace the diffuse map, replace the color, replace the sheen, the gloss, the glow of everything. But right now, my purpose is to show you the workflow. So this is what I call a rabbit hole, people. At some point I do stop. But as you can see, it's frustrating because you're like, okay, what is this one? Part of the shirt. What is this one? Part of the shirt. So name your pattern pieces. It will help you. Name your colors, your fabrics. Maybe you should make sure everything is named instead of fabric 1, 2, 3, pattern 1, 2, 3. That will help you when you bring it in to find it a little bit better. But things like your thread, zipper pulls, all that stuff is not really highlightable in Daz as a separate thing when you bring it in, because it's all brought in as one object. As you can see, somewhere in there is my thread. And I don't know where it is. So guys, I'm just going to render these two images out. You'll see them on my Instagram. And then I am going to be done with this video. I hope you found it as enlightening and fun as my other videos. I am working on the tutorials, trying not to be so laughy, jokey, and serious for the online classes. Guys, it is not easy to do these classes. And I am a Lone Ranger. So right now I need to get me a team of people to help me with these online classes. But it's coming soon. I can't tell you when. But let's render these out and call it a day. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.